Rukmini. Rukmini-Dvarakanatha, 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 Rukmini-Dvarakanatha. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Astotra Sutta Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Astotra Sutta Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. Text 35. Pashyanti te me ruchirani ambu santa prasanna vaktraruna lochani rupani divyani varapradani sakam vacham sprihaniyam vadanti pashyanti te me ruchiranyam vasanta Prasanna Vaktraruna Lochanani Rupani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Pashyanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Prasanna Vaktraruna Lochanani Rupani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Bacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Pashyanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Prasanna Vaktraruna Lochanani Rupani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Shanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Prasanna Vaktraruna Lochanani Pani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Shanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Sana Vaktraruna Lochanani Pani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti. Vaishnavis, Shanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Prasanna Vaktraruna Lochanani Pani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Shanti Te Me Ruchiranyam Basanta Sana Vaktraruna Lochanani Pani Divyani Varapradani Sakam Vacham Sprihaniyam Vadanti Pashyanti See Te They Me My Ruchirani Beautiful Amba O Mother Santa Devotees Prasanna Smiling Vaktra Face Aruna, like the morning sun. Lochanani, eyes. Rupani, forms. Devyani, transcendental. Varapradani, benevolent. Sakam, with me. Vacham, words. Sprihaniyam, favorable. Vadanti, they speak. Translation. O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. Please repeat. My mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent. And they also talk favorably with me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Mayavadis and atheists accept the forms of the deities in the temple of the Lord as idols, but devotees do not worship idols. They directly worship the personality of Godhead in his Archa incarnation. Archa refers to the form which we can worship in our present condition. Actually, in our present state, it is not possible to see God in his spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. That is the defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form, which is called Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha, sometimes called the Archa Incarnation, is not different from him. Just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations, he takes on forms made out of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord. These forms are not material. If God is all-pervading, then he is also in the material elements. There is no doubt about it. But the atheists think otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in his different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and his form in the temple, as do the atheists. The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual, and the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and rules and regulations which are followed in temples of Vishnu. And devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deities. And in many instances, the deity also gives answers. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Translation again. O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent. And they also talk favorably with me. So the reciprocations of love between the Lord and the devotees are very beautiful. And the Lord accepts the form of the deity, Archavigraha, especially to reciprocate with his devotees' desires to love him and serve him in various ways. Here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said the devotees express their minds before the deity. In many instances, the deity also gives answers. Here I think of the story story means history, of Shakshi Gopal. Many of you know the story, but still I will repeat it so we can relish it some more on this auspicious occasion. But there was an elderly Brahmin and a young Brahmin going on visits to different places of pilgrimage. And the young Brahmin was serving the elderly Brahmin very attentively and devotionally. Eventually they came to Vrindavan, to a very beautiful deity of Krishna called Gopal. And the elderly Brahmin was so overcome with appreciation and affection for the younger Brahmin that he offered his daughter in charity to become the wife of the young Brahmin. The young Brahmin was uneducated and from a relatively poor family, and the elderly Brahmin was learned and from an aristocratic family. So it seemed like an improper match. And the younger Brahmin said, please don't promise this, because even if you want to give your daughter in charity to me in marriage, your family members will object, and you won't be able to keep your promise. So please don't say such things. But the elderly Brahmin was insistent that no, I can give her in charity to you, no one can stop me. And the younger Brahmin repeatedly implored him not to make this promise. And the elderly Brahmin repeatedly insisted. So the younger Brahmin said, all right, I can foresee that your family members will object, but if this is your desire and determination, then you should make this promise in front of the deity of Gopal. And if need be, he will be the witness. So the elderly Brahmin did so, and the two of them returned back to their place, I think Vidyanagar. So, the elderly Brahmin went to his place, the younger Brahmin went to his place, and but the elderly Brahmin was remembering his promise. He had been afraid to express it, but he felt he must say something. So he said it. He called his family members together, and they objected. And the wife said, if you, anyway, they had many arguments, but ultimately she said, if you give our daughter in marriage to this uneducated poor Brahmin, I'm going to drink poison and commit suicide. And the son, who was an atheist, was saying, this is impossible. You cannot marry my sister to him, and why are you saying this? He said, well, I gave my word. I can't go back on my word. So the son said, when if the younger Brahmin comes, just say that you don't remember what happened, and I'll take over from there. So it just so happened the next day the younger Brahmin came and said, what about your promise to give me your daughter in marriage? And the older Brahmin said, I don't exactly remember what I said. And then the son took over, and he took up a stick and he said, this rascal, it might not be the exact word in Shastra, but in effect, this rascal, my father was carrying money, and this rascal gave him some intoxicant and stole his money. And now he's saying that he made this promise. So the older Brahmin was quite, he was sorry at the turn of events, but he felt helpless. So within himself he prayed to Gopal. And the young Brahmin said, well, I have a witness. The deity Gopal in Vrindavan is my witness. So he said, if you doubt me, I will bring Gopal to bear witness. So the son was an atheist, so he thought this was a great idea, because the deity's not going to come, and even if somehow the deity does arrive, the deity can't talk. So this is a great proposal. I agree to this. And his father was happy, he agreed, and of course the young Brahmin, he suggested it. So everyone agreed. So the young Brahmin returned to Vrindavan, to Gopal. I guess this is an elaboration on the idea that they also talk with me. So he said to the deity, remember when the old Brahmin promised his daughter to me and you were the witness? And I said I might call upon you later to give testimony. So I need you to come now to Vidyanagara. So the deity replied, I've never heard of a deity walking. And the young Brahmin said, well, but you're talking. So if you can talk, you can also walk. So the deity said, all right, you go ahead and I will follow behind you. And you will know that I'm following you by the tinkling of my ankle bells. But don't turn around to see me, because as soon as you turn around to see me, I will stop right where I am. And every day cook a kilo of rice and feed me. So off the two of them went, and the young Brahmin did exactly as the deity had told him. And eventually they reached the outskirts of the village. And the young Brahmin thought, all right, he's come far enough. So he turned and he saw the deity, and the deity stayed there. So he called all the villagers, and when they saw the deity, they were struck by the beauty of the deity and also the love of the deity for his devotees. So the deity gave testimony that indeed the old Brahmin had promised his daughter in marriage to the young one. And so the wedding was performed. One important point which I forgot to mention was that when the young Brahmin went back to the deity, he said, I don't want to marry this girl so that I can be happy with her. But the reason I'm coming to you is because I'm concerned about the old Brahmin's religious principles. I don't want him to break his principles. So in this way, the matter was concluded, and that deity, eventually the king of that area heard about what happened, and he built a temple for the deity, and so that deity is still there by the name Shakshi Gopal, witness Gopal. Another example is, from more recent times is Srila Sanatana Goswami and the deity of Madan Mohan. Srila Sanatana Goswami and all the 6 Goswamis, they were living as mendicants in Vrindavan. And he had no facility really for the deity, but he had the deity, Madan Mohan. And he would make these little, I think, sort of like balls of dough. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada referred to them as dry chapatis. And he would offer them to Madan Mohan. So one day Madan Mohan complained that, this is all you're offering me? I mean, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this is all you're offering me? He said, well, this is all I have. I mean, whatever you send me, I offer, but this is all you're sending me. And the deity replied, well, I mean, you're not even putting any salt on the chapatis. So at that time, there was a big, a barge, big boat, carrying a shipload of salt. And that barge got grounded in the sands of the Yamuna. It wasn't deep enough. And so the owner, I believe Mr. Kapoor, like he was really stuck. Like he didn't know what to do to free the barge. So this is right near the where Sanatana Goswami was worshipping Madan Mohan. So he came up and he explained his situation, and don't remember exactly, I haven't read this for a while, but anyway, Madan Mohan arranged for the barge to become loose. And so that merchant had like all that salt that he was going to sell that was saved. And Radhanath Swami, can you help us I think he offered to or should I just okay. Anyway, something like that he offered. He was so grateful to Madan Mohan for saving the shipment that he offered to build a temple. And all that, and the deity was complaining he wasn't getting salt on his chapati, so he had ample salt from the shipment for his chapatis. So this point that the deity is Krishna is very important, and I thought to supplement what I just said by reading a couple of verses that are really powerful and striking. And these verses, I mean, what can I say? In my efforts in devotional service during Srila Prabhupada's time, I was based in Juhu, and there was a major struggle based on Srila Prabhupada's promise to the Radha Krishna deities there, Radha Rasa Bihari. Srila Prabhupada had told them, my dear sir, you just come here and sit peacefully, and I will build you a beautiful temple. So, of course, Srila Prabhupada had his preaching mission, and so a lot of his struggle in Juhu was to establish his preaching mission in Bombay. In a way, you could say that was the external reason, not that it's any lesser, but his internal reason was that he had promised Sri Sri Radharasa Bihari that he would build them a temple. And there was so much opposition, there were so many reversals. At one stage, he said, I wasn't so attached to this land, but because the deities had come, Radharasa Bihari had come, it would have been a great insult to drive them away from this land. And I could not bear the thought of that insult to their lordships. So it was like a major struggle. And at one stage, very early, we had a rented apartment on Warden Road in Bombay called the Kash Ganga, and then the devotees brought the deities to the Juhu land when there was a pandal. We had just got the land, possession of the land, and Prabhupada wanted to inaugurate our activities by having a pandal. And so the deities were brought to the pandal. And from then on, I mean, they stayed in the pandal, then we had to give up that big fancy pandal we made like Narayan Prabhu. Made like a little temporary, I wouldn't even call it a pandal, but like a tent, or some of the deities were there. Then they were in a hut where the devotees were living. And then eventually we built the semi-permanent temple, and then they were moved there on the eve of Janmashtami in 1972. So they moved around a lot, and their accommodations were not very good. And Tamal Krishna Goswami used to say that he's often heard of devotees performing austerities for the sake of the deities. That at Hare Krishna land, the deities did austerities for the sake of the devotees. But anyway, it was, you could just, Srila Prabhupada saw them as Radha and Krishna. I mean, they weren't just statues. And his whole effort was animated by that relationship with them as being Krishna and Radharani directly. And, in the end, he was successful. But early on, I think, so we moved the deities from the big pandal into this, like a platform. Narayan constructed it. Narayan constructed it. It was like a platform, and it was like a little house. And so we had like two brahmacharis sleep there overnight. So one night, some thieves came, and they stole the deity's jewelry, in spite of the presence of the sleeping brahmacharis. And Malati Devi Dasi was there at the time. So she informed Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter saying to me, as the temple president, saying, this is a most abominable affair. I mean, when I read those words in Srila Prabhupada's letter, it just pierced my heart. I mean, it was like, I don't remember his having said anything like that to me before. It said, this is a most abominable affair. And, the deities should never be neglected. And, they should always be offered the most attentive service. And then he said you should buy a safe and lock up all their jewelry. And he really responded, very quickly and decisively. So, it's described here. It's also in the Girivastakam that the spiritual master trains the disciples in deity worship. In fact, once in Calcutta, Srila Prabhupada asked the devotees, what is the duty of the spiritual master and what is the duty of the disciple? And then he gave the answer that the duty of the spiritual master is to serve Krishna, and the duty of the disciple is to assist the spiritual master. And then the same thing, Shivigraharadana Nityanana, Shringaratana Mandira Marjanada, cleaning the temple. It's the spiritual master's duty to see that the temple is clean. So when the disciples clean the floor of the temple, they should be thinking, actually, this is my spiritual master's duty, and I'm assisting him. So it's it's service to the deity and service to the spiritual master. So I lost the place. I was going to read these very powerful verses. But the idea, I think I can probably find it. So it's about very strong statements about the deity being God, Krishna, and how we should see the deity. Okay. Found it. So, the first in this series of 3 verses is a famous verse by Rupa Goswami, glorifying the Govinda deity. And I'll just read the translation. My dear friend, if you are indeed attached to your worldly friends, do not look at the smiling face of Lord Govinda as he stands on the bank of the Yamuna at Keshigat. So why does he say if you're attached to your worldly friends, don't look at the beautiful deity of Lord Govinda? Yes, exactly. Thank you, Maharaj. You saved us. Yes. Because you'll become attached to Govinda and you'll lose your attachment for your worldly friends. Yes, exactly. Casting sidelong glances, he places his flute to his lips. See, Rupa Goswami is not describing him as a static, motionless figure, but he's describing him as active. He places his flute to his lips, which seem like newly blossomed twigs. His transcendental body, bending in 3 places, appears very bright in the moonlight. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami comments, and these are very stern and beneficial instructions. This is Adi 5:225. Shakshad Brajendra Sutta ite nahi ana yeva agyane kare tana pratimahena jnana. Without a doubt, he is directly the son of the king of Vraja. Only a fool considers him a statue. 226. Se aparade tara nahi kanishtara gora nara kete pade ki ba ara. For that offense, for what offense? Yes. Yes. Considering him a statue. For that offense, he cannot be liberated. Rather, he will fall into a terrible hellish condition. What more should I say? And purport. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami has stated that those who are actually very serious about devotional service do not differentiate between the form of the Lord made of clay, metal, stone, or wood, and the original form of the Lord. In the material world, a person and his photograph, picture, or statue are different. But the statue of Lord Krishna and Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are not different, because the Lord is absolute. And there's more. To confirm what Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said about hell. And the Padma Purana specifically mentions that anyone who thinks the form of the Lord in the temple to be made of wood, stone, or metal is certainly in a hellish condition. So, I think we need these chastening instructions, because sometimes, due to our material conditioning, we might not have full awareness, or enough awareness that the that the form of the Lord in the temple, the Archavigra, is the Lord himself, and we should, treat the deity as such. It's mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion that the proprietors or administrators of temples, they should read the books of accounts to the deities, because the deities are actually the proprietors, so they should read the books of accounts to them. So all these activities, strengthen our relationship with the Lord, and they're proper. They strengthen our position as devotees, as eternal servants of the Lord. So this is a glorious occasion, the 50th anniversary of the installation of Shri Shri Rukmini-Dvarakanatha. And what makes it so glorious, of course, they didn't go away for 50 years, so that's part of it. But the other part I would add is that the standard of worship here has been maintained in such an excellent way. It's really exemplary through all those 50 years. And I think they're pleased, and festivals is part of deity worship, so this festival is to remember them and glorify them, is also an expansion of their deity worship. So, yes, thank you all for coming, and would any of you like to add anything? Any questions or comments? Yes.
I was just trying to refresh my memory in the class in regards to one existing in a hellish condition. If I'm thinking properly, there's also two other things that fall into that category.
Oh, yeah.
And it's to consider the spiritual master an ordinary person, and is it to consider prasadam ordinary food?
To consider a Vaishnav to belong to a particular caste or community. That's correct. Those material conceptions place us all in a hellish condition. All places in a hellish condition. Yes.
Hare Krishna. I just read in the Nectar of Devotion that one should not sit cross-legged in front of the deity. So what does that mean, actually? Because Prabhupada sits cross-legged and we do it every day. Is that a specific way of sitting, or is that just a detail that's not a big deal?
Oh, well, I mean, the idea is that our feet shouldn't face towards the deity. But if we sit cross-legged and our feet are covered, I would say it's okay. Yeah. Any other? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
In the purport there was this line that said, sometimes the Lord informs the devotees through the dreams.
Yes.
How seriously should one try to infer meaning from those dreams? I've been having these outbursts of spiritual dreams for a while, but I don't know if there is a lesson that I should learn or a message that I should try to infer. How does one approach such situations?
You're saying the deity comes in your dreams and gives you instructions?
It's sometimes spiritual gurus, sometimes it's the deities as well.
Wow. Unfortunate. Well, Srila Prabhupada said that when the spiritual master appears in our dream, we should take it as Krishna's special mercy. At the same time, if the spiritual master or the deity gives us instructions in a dream, we should confirm those instructions with external sources whom we can approach, Sadhu Shastra and Guru, because sometimes our mind can play tricks with us, and it can produce a dream that gives instructions that might be more favorable for our sense gratification than for Krishna's service. So it would be good to, confirm those instructions. But Madhavendra Puri, for example, the Lord appeared to him in his dreams, and the messages were bona fide. Yes, thank you. That was a good question. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
There was a reference made that Prabhupada had instruction from Rukmini-Dvarakanatha to go back to India to establish those temples. Can you elaborate us on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard different versions of it. But Srila Prabhupada did say that he was very happy in New Dwarka with the deities and the devotees, and he couldn't understand why Shri Rukmini-Dvarakanatha were sending him back to India, which was not his intention. But then, when the Krishna Balaram temple opened in Vrindavan, he said, I couldn't understand why Rukmini-Dvarakanatha were sending me back to India, but now, seeing this temple open, I can see that, with all due respect, I can see that Krishna's given me a better temple. Of course, they're all equal spiritually. The deity worship here definitely is sublime. In fact, once Brahmananda Prabhu accompanied Srila Prabhupada into his quarters here, and Brahmananda Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada, these quarters are just like heaven. And Srila Prabhupada said, what heaven? It is like Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. So, yeah, it's just spiritual variegatedness. But, yeah, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada that, your Guru Maharaj instructed you to preach in the West, so now why are you spending so much time in India? And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, he did give me that instruction, and I did that. So now I'm doing this. And he really did it. Like no one else before or in the future ever will. So, yeah, there's also spiritual individuality. And when we were preaching in India in those early days, and trying to get people to support Srila Prabhupada's activities, we would often say that India is the spiritual capital of the world. Like America or whatever, New York, Wall Street is like the financial capital of the world. So if there's difficulty in America or on Wall Street, then the economy of the whole world will be affected. So we would say that India is the spiritual capital of the world. And so if the spiritual consciousness in India is not strong, then that will affect the spiritual consciousness of the whole world. So, but Srila Prabhupada is so magnanimous, so powerful and magnanimous. He went almost everywhere. I mean, he could do both, preach in America and preach in India. So, yeah. Does that address your question?
Thank you. I have one part to it, if you don't mind, allow me to ask you that. That is, did Prabhupada elaborated how that came about to him, that Rukmini-Dvarakanatha talked to him? Thank you, Maharaj.
Well, he didn't elaborate to my knowledge, but they had their way of communicating with Srila Prabhupada, and he had his way of receiving their message. And I feel that's enough for me to know. It's a good question, but I can't say any more. All right, well, thank you for assembling for this wonderful occasion. There will be many other wonderful events to follow. And so there was an instance where Krishna told him that he had to create a bigger temple for him here in
No, I just remember one pastime where Srila Prabhupada, I think it was his last, it was a year here, where he requested Tomal Krishna Maharaj to take him to Vrindavan, to India, specifically during that time, when many of the sannyasis were propounding a impersonal understanding of Guru and saying Prabhupada was God. So Prabhupada, in a experience of him taking darshan with Rukmini-Dvarakanatha, there was some kind of, like Maharaj was saying, an interchange where Krishna told him, I have a bigger temple for you to create in Vrindavan. And that is somewhere on the memories tapes. No, I'm making a point. It's a point about the communication between the deities and Srila Prabhupada, these deities. Radhanath Swami may remember.
He's just adding a little salt to make it a little more flavorful. All right, so yes, thank you all very much, and I look forward to having more of your association through the rest of the festivities today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Rukmini-Dvarakanatha ki jai, Gaur Bhakta-vrinda ki jai.
So we're going to serve out prasadam at 1 p.m. under the ashram, and then we request you to come back at 3 o'clock for the boat
Haribo.